What are the most important factors in winning the air fight? Is it mastering the intricacies of the turning fight to be nimbler and quicker than your opponent? Is it the ability to go unseen and reveal yourself only when it's too late? Or can you just lob an enormous missile from a kajillion miles away and then sprint away too fast to be caught up with? The MiG-25 answered with a resounding, sort of, as it approached the intricacies of air combat with the subtlety of a brick flying towards you at Mach 3. Interceptor craft were nothing new. They had a simple job: make a mad dash for the target and fire at the first opportunity. But the big, lumbering giants of the 40s quickly gave way to faster jets, and then to supersonic bombers, no longer as helpless and far harder to catch up to. The Soviet Union would need a new plane to respond to the increasingly sophisticated American tech. One that could catch up to any threat across the gigantonormous Soviet border. This aircraft would be the MiG-25. The MiG-25 had a simple role. As an interceptor, its fighting style would be more akin to that of a sniper, firing from a long distance and then fleeing like a coward. To catch up to its potential targets, it would have to fly incredibly high and fast. But unlike the expensive, extravagant, evil capitalist West, the Soviets would use their smetana to come up with a simpler solution. What if we make the engines bigger? The first test prototypes were single-engine planes equipped with missile engines. You know, the engines designed only to survive for a single flight because missiles don't usually come back. That won't come back to haunt us later. It was eventually decided to stick 2 of these gigantic engines on the final product, and the rest of the plane was essentially built around them. The next issue to figure out was what to make it out of. Aluminum didn't have the heat resistance to survive at the speeds that these engines could propel the plane at, and titanium was far too difficult to work with and expensive. Luckily, the Soviets used their smetana to find an alternate solution. They created a top-secret, heat-resistant superalloy called stalinium, which was far cheaper and easier to work with than titanium. However, stalinium was significantly heavier than the alternatives, but the Soviets, as usual, found a simple way around it. What if we made the wings bigger? The MiG-25's main weapons were to be mounted on 4 wing pylons, usually large, long-range air-to-air missiles, giving it the ability to outrange most of its opponents. These weapons would be guided by the extremely powerful radar mounted in the nose under this prodigious bulge that makes me uncomfortable. This radar could pick up targets from hundreds of kilometers away and was highly resistant to jamming. The result of all these features was a gargantuan, cinder block-shaped aircraft with 4 intimidatingly large missiles hanging from its wings, and an uncomfortably large bulge. Soon, it would be put to the test. The first public showcase of the MiG-25 was at an air show in Moscow, when the audience was jump-scared by 4 MiG-25s. The public reveal sent US intelligence into a frenzy trying to decipher the MiG-25's design and capabilities. Their conclusions horrified them. This was clearly a high-speed, high-maneuverability dogfighter and a serious competitor to the American F-15 in development. The Western intelligence gossip channels were not happy. This thing could, fly circles around anything we have? I see. We'll have to do something about that. And it can, teleport and go to space? What? And it can transform into a giant robot? Buddy, I don't... And it keeps saying something about, overthrowing Megatron and becoming leader. But my point is, girl, we need to put more taxpayer money into the F-15 if we're ever gonna stand a chance. Sir, I don't know what kind of idiot you take me for. I'm sorry. You had me at taxpayer money! With the West seemingly falling behind and panicking, this was clearly a Soviet W. The MiG-25 would go on to pull off some pretty fantastic flying feats. Its maximum speed was rivaled only by other Mach 3 aircraft, and its maximum altitude of over 65,000 feet allowed it to catch up to high-flying targets like U-2s. It also went on to set 29 world records, including for the highest altitude ever reached by a jet, which still stands to this day. One MiG-25 was even tracked at over Mach 3.2. It could outrun just about any other fighter or interceptor out there, including the Eel!
Bullshit blazing, still my heart is blazing. If the words kill me, I don't need a new one under you. Soon you will know, we already know the smell of the game.
At this point, it seemed like there was nothing the MiG-25 couldn't do. In totally unrelated news, this is Viktor Belyanko, who one day decided he just couldn't take it anymore, and so flew his jet to take a nice relaxing vacation in Japan. For the US, this was the ultimate intelligence goldmine. This was like the intelligence equivalent of winning the lottery while skateboarding over a flaming shark while holding your girlfriend in your arms who you just proposed to, and she said yes, while being struck by lightning. Finally, they would get a chance to see how the Soviet Mach 3 super maneuverable teleporting mega space Starscream fighter was built. They were a bit disappointed. The MiG-25's super heat-resistant stalinium alloy was, in fact, steel, which is really, really heavy. Those enormous wings, they weren't for maneuverability, they were just for not dying. The plane had a turning circle the size of Jupiter. In addition, the MiG-25 couldn't even fly at Mach 3. Despite having the thrust-to-weight ratio to go that fast, its engines just couldn't survive for long, and at best the plane would limp back to base with a trail of turbine blade-rich exhaust, and at worst, in reality it was limited to Mach 2.8, and even then only for a short time, because the engines, which were designed for use in cruise missiles, just couldn't take the strain for that long. So the Soviet superfighter turned out to be a bit of a myth, but that didn't mean the MiG-25 couldn't put up a fight. Despite it very much not being a fighter, MiG-25s were used as such by the Iraqi Air Force, and they achieved some pretty surprising things. They would sometimes successfully scare off F-15s with their missiles before fleeing at maximum speed, and one even got a hit off on an F-15. And one managed to shoot down a Super Hornet. The MiG-25 may have been sluggish to turn, but being able to sling missiles from really, really far away and then run away really, really fast is still a really powerful ability. Not powerful enough to win the war, though. Also, it's worth mentioning that there is a MiG-25 ace. There is a guy who got 6 kills in a MiG-25. It's hard enough being an ace in general, but this guy did it in a flying cinder block. That's like if I climbed Mount Everest using only a toothbrush. Anyway, the MiG-25 would later be developed into the more advanced MiG-31, keeping the same overall shape, but improving the onboard technology and performance. But unlike this unoriginal, uninspired modification, I only make original, inspired modifications. I only have good ideas, and I only say and do smart things that are smart and good and original. There was a proposal to give the MiG-25 vertical takeoff capabilities. They didn't specify how they were going to do it, so I took some creative liberties. This is why you should never doubt my genius. Ignore that. There was a proposal for a MiG-25 business jet. Who is going to fly in this? Box. 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 Box? Box? Box! 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 Box. Box. Here we go again. I've filled it up with a bunch more fuel and oxidizer, and I've switched out some of the whiplashes for rapiers, and ignore that, I forgot to recover that from earlier, and let's go! Uh-oh. That didn't happen last time. I tested this once just to see if it could get into space, but I don't know if it can actually get into orbit. So the old record that the MiG-25 set was for 37.5 kilometers in a zoom climb. We are certainly going to beat that because I beat that last time when I tested this. But hopefully we can also have enough fuel left over to get into orbit. That may have been too early. Okay, it was too early. I'm not going to be able to accelerate like this. Let's level off at around 5 kilometers and see if we can accelerate back up again to, let's say, Mach 3. So, how are you guys doing? Is your life also in shambles? Leave a comment if your life is also in shambles. This thing accelerates really slowly. Probably because it has so much drag. Let's have a look at the drag vectors. This is why most people don't play the game like I do. Hi there, it's me from the future. Would you like to download all the craft files you see here and more for free? You can check them out over on my Patreon. You can download the craft files for free. If you feel that I provide more value to your life than that, you can feel free to donate, which will grant you early access to some sneak peeks of my next videos. Ooh. Thanks for the support. 40 degrees ought to do it. Part of me wants to see how far up I can coast with just these engines. And switch to closed cycle. Set SAS to prograde and just go up as far as I can. That is going up way slower than I would like it to. We have established that this thing has the thrust-to-weight ratio of something that has a very bad thrust-to-weight ratio. Let's give it a little more for safety, and cool. We'll be there in 1 minute and 4 seconds. We have now smashed the real-life record, but we're cheating because we're using rocket engines. And now to circularize the orbit. Okay. We have 187 oxidizers left. Well done, me. We made it into orbit. Now how are we gonna get back? I don't want to waste any fuel turning around, so I'm just gonna wait for us to get to the other side of the planet and use our remaining oxidizer to return. I am facing vaguely retrograde, and I have just enough to deorbit myself. And I'm out of oxidizer. I might have to do multiple passes. I think that's low enough in the atmosphere that I can re-enter, I think. Let's admire the sunset in orbit in our MiG-25. Okay, we are now re-entering completely sideways. I can no longer time warp, I can only watch and pray, because this thing has no reaction wheels or rocket controls or anything. It only has thrust vectoring, and that's gone. So I am at the mercy of gravity and drag. If this keeps happening, I might have to deploy my parachute and stop my spinning if I enter a flat spin. This will like slow me down so much that I won't overshoot the space station. Space station? Space center. I can't talk today. In terms of stability, this is not. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to save this. Okay. We've slowed down to under 1 kilometer a second. At this point, it may be worth heading for the desert airfield instead. Let's set navigation for that. Okay, it looks like I might have to use my drag chute. Come on. I think this is how it works in real life, right? After you enter a spin, you deploy the chute. Straighten out, you little shit. Come on. Okay. We did it. We can cut the chute now. There it is. Shouldn't be too far from it. Let's get a little higher so we don't burn through all our fuel. Oh, I see it. It's a tiny little strip, like 1 pixel wide on my screen. I don't know if you can see it. This is a good speed to make landing approaches. They teach this at pilot school. As they say, 1.4 kilometers per second is the perfect landing approach speed. I just lost 2 parts. I don't know what I'm losing. I need to slow down now. Why aren't my landing gears deploying? I forgot to turn on deploy shielded. Hold on. I have to do some emergency airplane surgery. Where's the landing gears? Landing gears. There. Deploy shielded. There they are. And I overshot the runway. I hope we don't have to pull a Victor Belyanka and land with 30 seconds of fuel remaining. I just have to not screw up this landing. I just pulled 5 Gs in a MiG-25. And there we are. So, NASA, if you're taking applications, which you're not, this video is my resume. This is what I can bring to the table. If you hire me now, give me money, I will do this every day.
Those fools never appreciated me for who I was. But now the joke's on them. The human intelligence reports tell me that this vehicle mode shall make me the strongest and fastest of them all. With this vehicle mode, Megatron will be yesterday's news. All shall be in the name of Lord Starscream. Oh, fuck!